Hello everyone. It's me, that divination witch. I hope you're doing well. I am back with another episode in the Keys of Life podcast. If you're new here, this podcast is something Hecate wanted me to do. We've got people coming on here from all walks of life, all different backgrounds, and it's basically to share everyone's path and show that there is no right or wrong answers here. We've all got our own way of doing things. And today we've got the lovely Jade on the podcast. Hello, Jade.
Hello.
And hi, we're going to be speaking about her path today. Uh, I'll link my information below and Jade's as well. I've got a Patreon, a shop, and everything like that. And Jade, I believe, do you read tarot too?
You? Yeah.
Yeah. If you're interested, go give Jade a follow. Thank you. Right. Hiya.
Hello.
So, how are you first?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, just going on by, it's the end of the working week and looking forward to a nice weekend.
Good. Have you got, well, I don't know if this is podcast appropriate. Have you got any plans? Anything
Well,
going on?
yeah, I mean, I'm going to see Return of the King tomorrow for the first time in years. It's in the cinema.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm
is
enjoying that.
that Lord of the Rings, is it?
It is. I am
Oh,
that sort of nerd. Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. I like a bit of the Lord of the Rings, bit of
yeah,
fantasy.
yeah.
Nice. Is it uh is it in 3D?
No,
No.
I don't know. Thankfully not. I can't handle the 3D. It makes my eyes go weird, but yes, really looking forward to that. And I chose my actual tarot reader name from a bit of Lord of the Rings, from Lothlorien, the elven um dwelling of Galadriel. I chose Lorien from that. So
Oh,
that's the
nice.
level of nerd I am. And so it's kind of like a nice sort of harkening back to my childhood per se,
Mm,
because that set me on a path that then ended up setting me on the path of witchcraft, weirdly enough.
yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of all synchronicity, and this coming back around has sort of made me think about other things and cycles that are coming back around as well. So it does,
Mm,
little things, little events like that. You're just like, oh, okay, like what's happening now? That sort of thing. So it's interesting to see.
yeah. It all links together. It does. I've
Mhm.
noticed that too. Uh, Things from my childhood or when I was younger, I'm like, oh, that really is like Hecate, and things
Mhm.
like this.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned there, obviously I know you read tarot and your username. So how long have you read tarot for? Well, I'll ask about tarot first.
Yeah, I've been reading tarot for probably 11 years now. Professionally, slightly less. I my name is Wellington Witch. I go by the Wellington Witch on most platforms because it was going to New Zealand, which is because I fell in love with Lord of the Rings, in 2013 that started me on the witchy path. And so my experience in Wellington was something that I took on board. And so that's where I first started learning about tarot. And yeah, I've been doing it for 11 years. I've been on tarot lines for my sins. I have been on, I did YouTube videos like yourself quite a lot. That
hmm
was when the algorithm was a lot easier and you didn't have to fight so much. Now it's kind of like trying to get out of a quagmire to get some views sometimes. So I've
Mm,
moved more onto TikTok. But yeah, I've been doing tarot for a long time. And I
hmm
always love it when it surprises me because it does that a lot. So
Yeah,
it's interesting. It's always evolving for me.
yeah. So how long have you, well, had a witchy practice then itself, not just tarot?
Same time,
Same
actually.
time.
Yeah, there's I think until it was in New Zealand, I didn't think that being a witch was something you could actually do.
Mm,
I come from a very spiritual family.
hmm
I was raised with three other generations of women, and they were all spiritual in their own way. Even my 98-year-old great grandmother, she was very much into spirits and things like that.
hmm
So it was kind of ingrained in me that there was something out there, and I always felt connected to it in that way, but I never knew that there was an actual word for it. I thought witches were just out Sabrina or Buffy or something like that. It wasn't, I
Yeah.
know, I was like, oh, actually, there's something that you can actually do about this.
Yeah.
So yeah, since then it's been not a straight line. It's been winding up and down and back to front and going forwards 18 paces and then back 15. It's been up, down, side to side, and I find myself coming back around to it a little bit more now because life happens and things don't always go your way. So I did stop for a time doing witchy stuff. But then I've kind of kindled my connection a little bit over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that. I mean, for me, I was a teenager getting into it and then
Hmm.
stopped. And yeah, no, I understand that. We get so kind of bogged down in, I call it muggle stuff, like just
Yeah,
mundane. Yeah,
yeah.
we've got to pay bills, we've got to live life, got to do the
Hmm.
crap. Yeah,
Yeah,
you just,
unfortunately, yeah.
yeah. So, New Zealand then. So, was
Mm.
it just because of Lord of the Rings that you started getting an interest in New Zealand, or do you think it's something more, or what is it?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I always knew that we had relatives over there. That was the extent of what I knew about New Zealand. I thought it was a very far away place that took a long time to get to, and that's all I knew. Then Lord of the Rings exploded. It came at a time in my life where there was a lot of, um, well, passing away in my family, and
Oh,
I kind of turned to the fantasy in order to escape that. And then, all the things after that sort of led me to kind of looking into what I could maybe do or where I could go in the world. And, it
yeah,
wasn't until maybe, yeah, 10 years after I first saw the films, they were doing The Hobbit in New Zealand. I was in a very fair job, and I was decided that as soon as they gave me the shares payout, I was buying a ticket and off I went.
yeah.
With the blessing of my mom. Meant to stay there for 2 weeks, ended up staying there for 6 months.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, as soon as I got there, I can't describe it to you really. It was a case of it just felt so vibrant and alive, the energy of the place. It was unlike anything I'd ever felt before. And a lot of it was just instinct and intuition. Like I was walking through the trees, I'd put my hand on the tree and I'd say my request to the tree. I've never done that before in my life.
Yeah,
I would go into the rain and I would speak to the rain. I would needed a new house actually, because I'd overstayed my welcome with a friend that I was staying with, and
mhm,
I need this house. I really want this house, and I went outside and I spoke my request to the full moon. And a couple of days later, I got the house. So it was just that sort of like, oh, things are happening. When I was asking for
yeah,
things, I was getting a response, which I'd never had before.
mm,
And my roommate ended up being a tarot reader herself, which is how I got into it. Somebody I met in the queue for a Hobbit thing, she was a witch. I ended up meditating in front of a pentagram in the woods, which was carved into some wood. And it was just all these little things afterwards that just seemed to be such a big, huge sign for me that you have taken leaps and bounds and courage coming over here. Now you need to sort of do the same for the rest of you. So yeah,
yeah,
I just carried it on when I came back. Yeah.
yeah. Cool. It sounds like a lot of synchronicities there, and
Mhm.
yeah, like that kind of transpired for me as well in a different way. But yeah, it
Mm.
was like this small thing led us to this thing that led me to this thing, and it's a
Mhm.
snowball effect. So yeah, sounds amazing. Magical, no pun
Yeah.
intended, but also a pun intended. So, so okay. Did you start with a particular sort of style of witchcraft, or from what you've said, it sounds like you were following your intuition,
Mm.
but a lot of us seem to, this is a generalization, maybe gravitate towards Wicca at first, because
Mm.
that's a lot of what the resources are or
Mm.
were, or
Mm.
like, I don't know, a Celtic sort of practice, like nature-based, and then develop over time? I mean, did
Yeah.
you do anything like that?
Well, you mentioning your teenager actually sparked memory in me. Out of necessity, I had to go to this very evangelical American evangelical school for a
Mm.
couple of years, and I got a witchcraft book. And those were the first couple of spells that ever worked. I
Oh,
think there were spells for teenage witches, and I remember trying to do an invisibility spell, and it worked. I won't bore you with the details, but it worked. I did not get an exam paper when they were passed around. The teacher did not see me at all. So I was like, yay. But yeah, the start of it, when I came back from New Zealand, I looked for classes near me, and
mm.
there were some crystal-based ones, all at the same witchy shop that's sadly no longer there now.
No.
And there was an introduction to his witchy history. And I went, oh, that'll be interesting for because I'm a writer as well. I thought, oh, this will be fodder for my book. I will learn about magic systems and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and she was a Wiccan priestess, and she was obviously had that gaze of witchcraft. So that's what she was kind of teaching us. But I always tend to follow what feels right to me. So when she was saying, for instance, oh, you can follow, for instance, the Celtic pantheon, or you can follow something else, I was a bit like, I don't really know whether, like, none of this is resonating with me. But I
Yeah.
took what did and left what didn't, which I always say to, my clients as well, like, if something doesn't resonate now, don't worry about it, don't obsess over it, just leave it be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I tried to do in my kind of getting to know witchcraft. But yeah, she explained Gardenian, Alexandrian. I understood what skyclad meant, which
Okay, it's skyclad.
mhm. I
Yeah.
was like, not in England, definitely not in England. Um, and yeah, it was fascinating to me, but I wanted to do more research and just take her word for it, which I think is a key thing if you are finding your path. It's
Yeah,
you need
definitely.
to hit the textbooks, look at a wide range of people. Don't just go from one source, just go from, what interests you first and then expand on that. But yeah, it was one of that. I didn't really, I still identify mostly as an eclectic solitary witch.
Yeah.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. The ADHD has a very big part to play in that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would, say that I'm a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah. No, I understand that because I feel the same
Yeah.
in that regard. And that is something I've learned. You can read a million books and it is good to read books, read them all, devour them. But you've got to put the work in yourself and actually put put it into practice, to
Mhm,
know what's right for you and what's not right for you,
mhm,
what are you talented at, what you're not so talented at. There's some people who are really good at, I don't know, protection magic, or
mhm,
someone's good at baneful workings, but someone else might not be, you know.
mhm.
And that's the only way you're going to find out because you're probably in the same boat with your clients. Sometimes people, and I'm not meaning to degrade anyone or get at anyone because that's not what this is about, but they want the answers and just want to follow. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I can tell you my opinion, but I can't
Mhm.
give you all the answers.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And Hecate herself, because obviously I follow Hecate and I'll get onto that, but she herself doesn't just give the answers. I don't
No.
know if you know that. But even
Mhm,
today I did a reading for someone and it's trying to explain, look, Hecate will say, look, you can do X, Y, or Z, and then it's up to you. And then even if you pick one that's wrong,
mhm.
and I do it like that wrong, doesn't mean it's wrong because you can always learn something from it. And that's the way she is, and the way, I don't know, the universe is in a way.
Yeah.
So for you then, obviously I know you're an eclectic witch as well.
Mm.
Would you say you're a bit like me? Because I would say I'm like a grey witch in a way, because I don't shy away from what some people may say dark things,
Mhm,
like demonology, things like this
mm.
sometimes. Uh, uh, do you do things like that, or is it
E- Only
less like that?
recently, actually.
Hmm.
Yeah. For a long time. I mean, I had anxiety. I still do have anxiety. It never really goes away. But I was always conscious of doing the right thing, and I don't want to harm anybody. I was very much a case of, oh no, I just want to do things positively. Because the one time I did try baneful magic, it seemed to work too well, and I was a bit nervous about that. And I was like, oh
Oh,
God, So I kind of went scaled back a little bit. But no, I don't know. Am I allowed to swear?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, my personal mantra is do no harm, but take no shit.
yeah.
So that's just what I live by. I'm not going to outwardly go out to curse somebody, but I will definitely not accept just people hurling crap for the sake of it.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't come to this um, very early on. I think it's literally only like the last year that I've looked into it, and demonology very recently. And I didn't even really go into Hecate until maybe probably the last 12 months because when I first started, I've still got it. I've got a candle upstairs that I dedicated to Hecate, and I never used it because I was scared because I'd heard all these stories about her, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to refrain from that then. And I was very, very new, literally just like a few courses of this thing, and I went, oh no, I'm not going to do that because I'm scared of this lady. Um, and so I just kind of left it. I've still got it upstairs though, and I thought I'm going to come back around to you. I know I am, and here I am, the cycle again. But no, I do not shy away from it. I'm not scared of many things uh, since losing my parents, I'm not scared of much anymore. I can kind of like see I'm not afraid of the death side of things. So I'm like, okay, just lean into it a little bit more. Yeah, I'm learning more about there's not always something to fear in the dark. There are things, but not
Yeah.
always. So it is that kind of thing that you just have to use your senses to be aware of that. But yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And I kind of had a feeling you were going to say something about being scared. I could hear her out, like, yeah, it's the
Mhm.
same old story. Like, as in, I was scared too once. I've got friends who work with Hecate who also did the same. Like my friend Lauren, who's been on the channel,
Mhm.
she threw her altar away. I put mine away. At least I didn't throw it away.
Oh,
Did you throw yours away?
nope.
No, you just left it.
Yep.
Uh, but no, it's because there's a lot of fear mongering now. Hecate, I mean, that's what my whole channel's about. You know this.
Mhm.
Yes, she's a complex being, like nature. That's the way I'm seeing
Yep.
her now. I'm getting to know her more, and my mind's expanding over the years more about her. And well, if you think nature is beautiful, but it also has a bite when it needs to, and
Mhm.
it's exactly what you explained there about baneful magic, your philosophy. I feel like, oh, that's very Hecatean of you. As in, no, I'm not out there cursing people. I don't even think I've done an actual curse. I mean, a curse is mainstream, it's big, it's
Mhm.
meaningful. But yes, I've done baneful workings too, like you, but not undeserved. And what makes it deserved? Well, if someone sent it to me, you're gonna get it back with knobs
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
you know so yeah, so Hecate then. All right, so you said
Mhm.
12, the past 12 months. So how did that come about? How did you know start with Hecate?
Like I say, the first was I still got the candle. I read up about it, and it just seemed like everyone was going, "Oh, she's the one to start with." I disagree in some ways,
Hmm.
because I think the reason that I was scared of her, and maybe some people will agree with this or resonate or not, it's absolutely fine. But my personal thought is that I wasn't ready for many reasons, and I had to go through a lot of crap before I could meet her energy. Her
Mm-hmm.
vibration when I was younger was far too strong for me to cope with.
Hmm.
And it would have rattled me, and I think it would have scared me off maybe witchcraft entirely because I was not prepared to see the dark things at the time.
Hmm.
Um, and I think like she didn't come to, she was always kind of like an interest of mine. But I started with Freya, and Freya is still around me. And I was very drawn to the Norse pantheon. And then I kind of, I think it was around June last year, um, Hades would not go away.
Oh.
And yeah, he was just not, it just kind of like landed in my energy space and I could not stop thinking about Hades. Okay. Um, yeah,
Right.
yeah, it was about a year after I'd lost, because I lost my mum and then 3 months later I lost my dad in 2022. And I think after that, all the death deities decided to go, okay, she's ready, let's go. And just kind
Oh.
of descend upon me. And so I kind of, he's a very gentle energy. And I think he was a very nice doorway into opening the possibility of communicating with Hecate, or I say it so many different ways. I can never say it one way. Um, and with her energy, you expect it to be, I don't know, from the stories, it is like, oh, you don't want to annoy her because you'll get smacked off or whatever. And you just kind of like, oh God, I didn't like your candle today. I'm so sorry, or something like that. And it was just this feeling of just warmth. It is
Yeah,
just warmth.
yeah.
I mean, I've just
It's a
got the
load
candle
of
behind me there. It's like, hello. But,
yeah,
it is just this warmth. And I think it's one of like the way that I'm imagining it right now is like one of your favorite teachers at school.
yeah,
It's just
yeah,
that
yeah.
sort of, she's not going to tell you off, but she is going to guide you and teach you and be like a mentor and just let you find your own answers and just lead you to it. Um, I I meditated the first time I meditated to meet her. It was something on YouTube, and I don't know what it is with me, whether it's a common occurrence, but uh, when you meet the deity that you're meditating to meet, with me, they're always massive, like so tall.
Mm.
And like I opened this door and I was like, whoa, like so tall.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and it surprised me, but the surprise is, I think, what makes me realize it is real, because if it was
Mm.
me making it up, I could design it in my head. This, it's like, oh, didn't expect that, is for me what is a true representation. And like I say, if I'd have done that 10 years ago, I don't think I would have still been here. I would have been somewhere else
Mm.
doing some daisy chains in a field or something.
Daisy chain.
Um, yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, no. But as it is, I'm sitting in candlelight and I'm talking about witchcraft. Yeah,
Ooh.
spooky season incoming. But yeah, I'm not gonna say that I'm an expert on her, because I'm not. Um, I haven't really worked with her half as much as I wanted to. But I do recognize some of the things that she has done for me. And it's kind of like recently I was in a doldrums and just stuck in the mud, and I was thinking, how do I get out of this? And I was trying to make everything fit around this never-ending plug that was just draining my energy. And I
Mm.
was like, hang on a minute, instead of making it fit, why don't I just change the plug? Like, just
Yeah.
change
Pull
that.
the
And
plug.
then, yeah. So it was like, oh, right, okay. And I kind of felt a little applause, should I say, like a,
You got it.
you learned
That's
it,
exactly
haven't
mother.
you?
That's her.
I was like, okay,
Hmm.
thanks. Yeah, my experiences so far has been very gentle. Um, Unfortunately, in my day job, it just drains me so much that sometimes I cannot do what I want to do for her. And that's part of also something that I'm coming to terms with, is just being a basic witch. That's my whole philosophy, just be
You've got to
basic.
sometimes. So yeah,
Yeah,
and that's okay. Like
yeah.
I think that's important to say because on social media as well, like even in general, not just witchcraft, people only show the good side normally to
Mhm.
things. You don't see the full picture. You don't see everything in that person's life, and it's very much a show. And there is a lot of performative witchcraft, especially on TikTok. I know you mentioned TikTok,
Yep.
very much so. I see. It's funny at the beginning when you mentioned that, I thought, oh, I've done the opposite to you. I went to YouTube from TikTok. I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
No, no.
But yeah, there is a lot of performative. Sprinkle some fancy herbs. Oh, there's a massive fire. Oh no, stabbing this thing. What? Like. sometimes, I mean, I'm guilty of filming some of my magic. Not that much, to be honest, but I have. And I think, are you actually focusing on the spell here? What are you
Mm.
doing? You can't be doing everything. So I get it, and that's okay as well, and witchcraft doesn't have to be a huge magic ritual or
Mm.
anything bougie. It doesn't, does it?
No, no,
Uh,
not at all. And I
yeah,
think with when you mentioned like filming magic, I do my thing at the moment I think has become stay basic, which is it's for instance, you go out and you want to buy some £150 cauldron, you don't need to. You can just have an old saucepan if you want, and you can just
hmm
like throw a fire in there or do something, or um, you can go to the works in the UK. You can buy £2 jars if
yeah.
you want to. I go to charity shops and I find most of my stuff, if they're not bought for me, I will find a £2 candle holder or like a little silver dish that I can use as an offering plate. I think that one was 50p. It's just, you don't have to spend a fortune because they didn't do that in the old days.
No, you
They were,
use whatever.
no.
Hecate's had me. I mean, she's had me more than once using a potato or a plum. Once I used as like a poppet sort of thing, a plum, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even recently, someone on Patreon asked my advice for something, and I was channeling Hecate, and she said, "Put the energy in a potato and bury it." I'm like, "Yep, yep, okay."
Yep,
You know, you're
yep.
right. You're right. In the old days, I would use whatever. You made me laugh though with the saucepan because I thought of something. When Wilko was closing in the UK.
Mm,
If for anyone who's listening not in the UK, Wilko used to be like hardware store with homeware and also like toiletry suites. Had a bit of everything, didn't it?
yeah.
There was this little, I don't know, I called it a lasagna dish. I don't know, like a little tiny bacon dish.
Mm,
And when you're getting served, the woman serving it was like, "Oh, this is so tiny. What would you even use that for? What you going to use it for?" Like asking me, and I'm like, "Oh God, I got it for spells. To be honest, I can't be like, oh, little witchcraft."
mm.
And I just went, mini lasagnas. Yeah, like, but yeah, you can literally use the mini lasagna dish.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be fancy. You're right.
Mm. Yeah, it's I mean, I think I need a new one because I don't know where that's gone. But on TikTok or something and you see all these fancy things and doing all these herbs and stuff. Like the herb catcher I had was charity. You just cleanse it, make sure there's no stagnant energy on it and use it yourself. But I am guilty on TikTok of filming my magic, but only when I'm kind of doing a how to. So I don't have to be sort of like focused on it.
Yeah,
Or I'll just leave the camera running and then I'll edit it later because I'm going to do my autumn altar this weekend and just kind of like do that and focus on that, and then I'll figure out how to edit it and make it look pretty later.
yeah,
But it is just a case of I wonder, on TikTok I have done readings. I comment on some bollocks that goes around now and again, as and when, because again it's always some drama on there.
yeah. That's why I don't go on
No, I'm very lucky in the fact that I don't seem to see a lot of it, and I only see like the comments after it's
the
happened.
aftermath.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm like, oh
Always
my, okay.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I
Um,
first started, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no,
Like
no,
on
carry on.
TikTok, I mean, I was just doing readings. I mean, I was one of the first people to do bone throws and things like this.
Mm,
And I've had like hexes thrown at me over TikTok for no reason, like just because I was posting. And yeah, it's crazy. It's always been like that.
mm.
I feel.
I, from doing live readings on YouTube and stuff like that, I know that there are trolls. They come out the woodwork all over the place. And a few of the first times that I did tarot readings on TikTok, there was so many like trying to catch you out, and my mother's been missing for several days. Where is she? And I was just saying, I can't see your mother. I'm sorry. I can't get a read on your mother. I'm not doing that. But also the
Hmm.
energy feels off. So no. Oh, you're a liar because my mum's not missing at all. I'm like, how am I a liar when I've just told you I can't read your mum? I'm not getting anything from you. there's nothing there. So there was
Yeah.
nothing to read. But you do get people like that. You get lovely people, same as tarot
Hmm.
lines. Um,
Oh
you were
yeah, I've done that
mentioning,
too.
yes, you were mentioning earlier about how Hecate doesn't want to just give you the answers, and
Mm.
she'll kind of lead you.
Mm.
And also with tarot readings, some people do just want an answer. Like, what do I do? Tarot cards tell me. It's like, well, you've got this, interpret it how you want. It is a lot of the time I felt like I was being a therapist to people.
Oh yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't mind doing that, but it takes a lot of energy, and especially if you have repeat callers who ask the same questions and the cards come out the same every single time. And it's not helping yourself if you just keep asking the same questions every single time.
Yeah.
Um, so it's kind of similar on TikTok in that a lot of people who are in the spiritual community over there, and particularly, I don't know why it is, but they just seem to want to make themselves important. Um,
Mm. Mm.
and
A lot of egos clashing, aren't they?
yeah, and if anyone listening to this is just starting out or is even in the middle of their path and's not quite sure where to go, like I was a couple of years ago, I would always say if anyone comes up to you or presents himself on any platform and says with authority that they know everything there is to know and this is the definitive answer, you run in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody can know everything about
So
this.
many. No. And I mean, it's not just TikTok. Well, like you say, any platform. I I won't obviously say names, but I know there's several YouTubers like that,
Mhm.
Please,
Just yeah.
yeah, run the opposite direction. Nobody knows everything. You could have been practicing 50 odd years, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Also, can I just quickly say, I know this is me turning into a bitch session here,
No, no,
but what
carry on. This is what
grinds
I'm here
my,
for.
well, here's the tea. Oh, I mean, I'm 35 soon myself. I've been around the block. I'm not too, I mean, I'm young, but not that young.
Mhm.
But when you get these 20-odd-year-olds saying, I've been practicing 25 years, what, since you were five? I'm
Yeah,
that all the time. Come on. And plus, it doesn't always matter how long, to an extent, unless you're a brand newbie, it's somebody's dedication into it, it's somebody's effort, it's somebody's practice, because
yeah,
everyone's going to work at different paces and do different things and have different skills and whatever. So, yeah, that's just another point I wanted to point out while
no,
we were
it's a
on
good
that.
point. I mean, unless they include in blowing out birthday candles in that, that's fine
I know,
because
right?
that's fine. But no, it's you can be. I think like it depends. There's Elwin on TikTok. I don't know whether you know of him. Um,
I
very
think
soft
so.
spoken.
He's the has he got
The antlered
words,
crown.
Sarah? He's bald. I just
Yeah.
didn't want to be nasty or anything. Some people
No,
get
no,
offended by that.
no,
Don't
no.
mean it offensively. He is bald though, isn't he?
He is bald.
Yeah.
He's follically challenged, yes. But he has a
Oh,
very nice, he has very nice beard.
yeah.
And yeah, he's so soft spoken, and he speaks about having been raised by witches. And so, if you can speak to your experience for when you were younger, great. But if you just throw out years, and a number can mean
Yeah.
anything. Like I've said, that I have done tarot for 10 years doesn't mean I'm any good at it.
Mm.
I could say yes, this is, but unless you get a reading from me or from you or whoever, you don't know whether it's going to resonate with you or that I know what
Yeah,
I'm talking about.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, so it is just proof in the pudding or something like that. But yeah, it's there's a lot of spiritual jealousy I found in things and
Oh, yeah.
accusations being thrown and people copying other. I've been in a fair few circles and oh gosh, like no.
Mhm. It's hard
Um,
to, like, for anyone new listening, it's hard to make friends. It is
mhm,
hard. It's hard. You can't trust many people, I feel.
no.
For that, that's kind of why I left TikTok, and without going too much in depth, I've got one good friend out of it, who's Lauren.
Mm,
But even she was friendly with some other witchy people who's been part of a new bloomin' drama, exposing people, and just
no, no.
got no time for it. It's just always something. And like I say, I've had hexes thrown at me for no reason and stuff like
Yeah.
this and craziness.
I have a theory sometimes that people don't know that they're throwing hexes occasionally. It's
Hmm.
like a jealousy spike can, in my experience, easily do the same thing.
It's evil
Um,
eyes.
yeah.
Well, now I'm a few years in, which tip? Transmutation ward.
Um,
Get yourself one of
that's
them.
something I'm trying to learn actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's something that I'm going to be
look,
learning.
look into sigils. That might
Oh,
help you.
I love because I'm a drawer as well. I love sigils,
Mhm.
but it's just like I want to. My perfectionist side of me is like I want to know how to do this before I try it because I don't know whether it's the same with you. But sometimes when you do a spell and it doesn't seem to work, you're like, oh, and you're just like, well, what did I do wrong?
Oh.
What, am I not a witch anymore? What's wrong with me? How did this not work? I was so confident when I was doing it. So I just want to make sure that I've done everything that I can to be prepared so I can shut up that voice in my head that says, you were silly trying to do it this way. Um, because yeah, I think also just going off on a little bit of a tangent, because I had a break from witchcraft in inverted commas, because kind of always been a witch, but it's like that feeling of I wasn't lighting a candle every day or something. I feel like similar to drawing, have not improved any. So over the last year, it's been more of like reconnecting with what I want to do and going back as well to seeing all these fancy fandangled things on TikTok. I cannot, or even on YouTube occasionally, I
Mm.
do not either have the money or the resources or the energy to do everything that they ask you to do. And it can just be as simple as sitting with a flame of a candle or LED if conscious of that, and just staring at it and kind of trying to get the feeling into your mind and then seeing if you can release that and have an effect. It's recently I've been working with planetary energy, planetary
Mm.
hours. It's hard going because I get the results, but only half of what I've asked for. So it's like, okay, so how do I tweak this? It's constantly learning. And yeah, so the tangent that took me here, I don't know where we came from. However, it's definitely something that I think I would recommend to people is just kind of take it basic, take it slow. Yeah, and avoid people who seem to think they know everything because they
Yeah.
probably don't.
No.
No.
No. And I agree 100%. That's probably why you're here. Because yeah, I mean, we can all have differences of opinion of course, but no one knows everything and it's all right. I've had even people on the channel that I don't fully agree with everything they say, but hey ho, all right, live and let live, move along.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had things, I try and always be balanced. But even on YouTube, I've had stuff blow up in my face where, it's been took the wrong way. I won't name names. You might know some of this stuff, and
Yeah.
hmm it's
Mhm.
like, really, really, okay, whatever. Yeah. Well, tarot then. Let me ask you
Yeah.
about that. About that. So what
Mhm.
came first, the chicken or the egg? No, I mean like the tarot or the magic. So was it did tarot lead you to do other things?
Yeah, I think so. Um, I mean, I'm similar age to you. I'm slightly older than you. Um, and I turned 37 in a couple of months. So
Happy birthday in
thank you.
advance.
Happy birthday to you. Another trip around the sun. Um, but yeah, it was definitely tarot. Um, and it was sort of, I call her my soul sister. I knew her for 5 months, but I'm still friends with her to this day. And she was a very strange Kiwi lady who was just whacking tarot cards out every time, I had a question and stuff like that. And she was very nice enough to, lead me into this and tell me things. And I was like, okay. And then she took me into my first meditation circle, which ended up being a psychic circle. No magic involved. It was just leaning into that. And I realized when they passed around this little envelope thing, and there's like, oh, feel the envelope, feel the energies. What do you see? And I was like, oh, this. And it came out. in what I'd seen. I was like, oh, this is fun. So
Mhm.
that I think kind of led more into my interest in psychic things. Um, and the tarot was definitely something that I wanted to learn professionally and properly. And looking for classes, ended up looking for the witchy stuff. And the witchy stuff was literally just an academic interest of mine because like I say, I did not think it was anything to do with real stuff. I just thought it was Sabrina. It was, you can't just snap your fingers and make a light bulb go out. Or maybe you
Yeah.
can now in this day and age, but it's just
Mm.
one of those things where it was, yeah, it was, I think, a gateway into it. And it's certainly a
Mm.
gateway into expanding your psychic abilities and your intuition, which goes hand in hand with witchcraft.
Mhm.
So it all interlinks together.
Mhm. Yeah, it does. I feel honestly, witchcraft, it's just a name.
Mm,
Tapping into this universal energy that's all around us that we maybe don't have full words for. Although I think
mm,
the Chinese may call it ki or something like that. But
yeah.
we've all got our theories on it and just tapping into that. It's already
Yeah.
there.
And
That's all it is.
go by the thing that it's just magic is science that hasn't been explained yet. And
Yeah, exactly.
quantum physicists are, putting names to it a little bit now, and they've kind of proven some things. But my mum had a wonderful friend. He was a very nutty professor. If you know Back to the Future, he was exactly
Oh
like
yeah.
Doc. Exactly like him. I remember he was great. He was inventing things. He was doing all this kind of stuff. Oh, yes, yes. Electric energy. My mum could not conceive until he put her in this sort of what's it called? Like a ozone electrical field thing, and he charged her energy up because we're all made of electric. And he charged her up, and then she got pregnant with me. And that was, I think, the fourth woman who'd been able to help with that. And so I was baby number four, B4. But years later, I was told that he was also in a coven in Ireland, and he
Oh,
was also a witch. And I was like, you mean that, they're not interchangeable. Science and magic to me are not against each other. Like maybe they
yeah.
were years ago, but I still think that it's like there's something that can be very complementary to one another. And
Hmm.
I feel like, in a way, people who go, science is it, you're just creating a new religion for yourself. You
Yeah.
just, you believing what is here. And I always, a thing of like, okay, well, yes, you say this is it, but you're being proven wrong every single day. Like there's new
Mm.
discoveries and new things that challenge your scope of the universe and the scope of physics and things. What makes you so sure? And again, it's like some things, yeah, you can't go past. This is what happens. But there's
Mm.
always different things to add onto it. And I think that to say that magic doesn't exist, who knows? Science will prove us right one day, I think. Like
Yeah.
it's something's happening in the world and energy. And that's why you always need to trust your intuition with your energy as well. Because that
Yeah.
don't lie.
Nope. Nope. It doesn't.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
no, I agree. Like fully. That's
Mhm.
exactly what I said too. That it's just hasn't been proven yet.
Do
And
you
that's why,
think,
I
sorry,
mean, oh, it's okay. No, be sorry. I was just going to say that even if you look at psychology, a lot of like Jungian philosophies and things like this have been brought now into the spiritual
mm,
scope, the whole shadow work thing
mhm.
and stuff like that. It all meshes together. We're all
Yeah.
just, at the end of the day, we're floating on a rock in space. We're like little ants on a
Mhm.
big fat rock, you know?
And we're all made of stardust.
Yeah, and turds. I don't know why I've just said. So I kind of put that in. Well,
I'll
we are
leave it in.
full. That's gonna be the intro.
Yeah.
Warm with
Because
stardust and turds.
some people are mostly made of turds as compared to stardust, in my experience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. I love people, but I hate them at the same time.
I make a
Like,
mistake of having a very peoply job, and
um,
no.
I've been in peoply. Well, I am. Well, no, I am in a peoply job still,
Oh
doing
yeah,
them.
but you can curate the people in this particular job. You can actually pick and choose. But
It's not the demanding people.
no,
No,
when you're like, "Where's my payroll?" Oh my God, please,
it's
just
in the bin. Bye.
yeah. No, it's in my bank account, mate. All right, I changed it. Yeah, it's mine now. Yeah, no. But yeah, I mean, I'm thanks to changes within the scope I'm looking to get out of that. I'm changing the plug rather than trying to fit around the plug. And yeah. So that's coming out soon, eventually, maybe in the next year or so.
Yay.
But yeah, I was going to ask you, do you think it's something, because obviously we seem to be on the same page about a lot of things. Do you feel it's possibly like a rite of passage through as you get to a certain age, because we're similar age as well? Do you feel that that would possibly have a thing? Because I know people say maiden with a crone, that kind of thing, the stage of life you're at maybe change or alter or get you to a certain perception of things.
Could be, because I wondered this myself, and I put a poll out on YouTube a couple of months back. I think it might have been a couple of months back. I'm losing
Mm.
track of time.
Mhm.
I thought, Hecate, 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 Hecate. You seem to reach out to people when, in my experience, it was in their 30s, but there are some younger people, but it's mainly like 20s plus. Mind you, I have some older people as well who's like part of my Patreon and stuff. Hmm. I'm not quite sure. I do know from experience though, and even from you speaking, she comes to us after we've been through a great loss,
Mm.
and whatever that may be. For you, sadly, it was your parents, like you've
Mm.
kindly explained. That was the same for my friend Lauren. For me, well, it was my grandma and stuff. Uh, it's not always a death though. It's not always that. It's normally people. It's a common theme for her of people with trauma, people with pain, a lot of
Mm.
pain. And even if you look at her mythologies, like Hecuba, Queen of Troy, who is now her dog, but she's not just a dog. She chose to be with her as thanks. She saved her. She always fights for the underdogs, does Mother Hecate.
Mm.
Uh, she always like adopts us misfits, for lack of a better word. No offense to anyone. I'm a misfit too. It's us that need a mother, and that's why, like, I don't know, she led me to do this YouTube, all this path because of what you've said before about all this scaremongering. I don't know if people are misunderstanding. You've
Mm.
gave a good analogy for her there about being like your favorite teacher at school. She can have her strict teacher head, but that doesn't mean she's going to smite you. I think some people in this day and age, especially in the way the world is, don't respond well to any sort of authority. That's what
Mm.
I feel. I've literally, thanks to TikTok, I'll never forget when somebody called Hecate ableist because this particular creator
Well,
happened to be autistic, which I'm not diagnosed autistic, so I can't comment on that. But they're called Hecate ableist for not accommodating their autism, apparently. Uh, Hecate is not ableist. Like, I don't know. That could have been their perception, whatever. I wasn't there, but I know she's the most understanding energy, and she doesn't discriminate on your mental health or neurodivergence or physical ability either. So I don't get that. But there's a lot out there, what I think is misconstrued is like, I don't know, that maybe they can't understand or accept authority in a way, or they don't want to learn, they don't want to pick up on it. I don't know.
yeah, I think yeah, going back to a little bit of the teacher analogy, the image that comes to mind is slightly McGonagall, to go back to a Harry
Yeah.
Potter reference. You think that she's going to be very strict and, oh, you can't, but she's a heart of gold in there. She
Hmm. Hmm.
only wants the best and she
Hmm.
will discipline when necessary. She will, well, not necessarily discipline. I think that's kind of what they're afraid of. That's what kind of, when I was reading about her, oh, if you piss her off, you're going to get smited. And because of my neurodivergence, which I didn't know at the time, and now because of my chronic illnesses that I've got, I was still a little bit nervous, like, what if I cannot do what she would like me to do? And I thought, well, that shouldn't be a reason to not try and connect.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
if she doesn't want you, like if you can't do what you feel like you should be doing for her, and she comes around and goes, bitch features, don't want you doing this for me, then obviously, yeah, it's not meant to be. It's something that we have to kind of, okay, part ways. And it's just a case of, if you don't, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of being afraid of being disciplined or being like disappointing somebody sometimes, because
Yeah, letting someone down, isn't it?
yeah. I still go, oh, I go past an altar sometimes, and I haven't lit your candle in days. I'm so sorry. But the thing is, if you think of them and if you keep them present in your thoughts, or if you, oh, right, yeah, and for the other day, I thought, right, I need to get Freya some strawberries. And I had the strawberries, I still didn't put them on her altar because it was just like out of sight, out of mind. And then I was like, oh, yeah. So I put the strawberries finally into the strawberries. But it's a case of, you do things for them whenever you can within the limits of your illness, your ability or disability, your time. I wanted to do a deep non for her and then got a flare up from hell. So it's, one of those things where the thought is there, but sometimes the body ain't. And you've just got to go with it.
And I think all deities as well, none of them, they're all here to help us at the end of the
Yeah.
day. None of them are here to smite us on purpose. Like, that's ridiculous. I think a lot of it could be as well, maybe some sort of religious programming. I don't
Mm,
know. I mean, it's all personal. I mean, there's paths out there. I won't get too in depth about it, but I just don't agree with personally
yeah.
that a link to Hecate that I've painted her in such a dark manner. And yes, she can be dark, but that's not all she is. She is the divine feminine. That's how I'm seeing her now. We can all have our different opinions as to what that means to you, you know. Some people may say that's Mother Earth. Someone else might say it's like more Tiamat, draconic kind of. That's fine, but it doesn't mean she's all nasty all the time. Yeah, that's,
No, no.
yeah,
And I think that's the thing of, maybe some people are scared as soon as they hear somebody, all right, she's the goddess of death. Ugh. Like, does that mean that I'm
yeah.
going to see ghosts or I'm going to die soon or have to? No,
Mm.
no, there's no dark. The thing is, I think people are very afraid of something that they don't understand. And
Yes.
if you don't understand death or darkness or have not been there yourself, you're going to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
And, there's still things in the world that terrify me. Like, I watch true
Oh, of
crime,
course.
freaking hell, some of it's really rough, and that's proper darkness to me. And it's just like, death is not, I mean, it's horrible if it's taken too soon, and it can be absolutely traumatic and everything like that, but it's still not something to be terrified of in the way that, you're working with a deity who handles it. It's
Yeah.
not, it's not something that you need to quiver in your boots over.
Yeah. No, you're true. It's true. And people forget as well, she's also a goddess of life, as in she would assist people in childbirth. And
Mhm.
she's got that many different sides to her because she is the divine feminine and she does it all. But that's another quick thing before we go. Like, misconception to me, like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just desensitized to it now, but something people would always say is, "Oh, all the spirits are going to haunt your house because of Ashy. All the restless dead following her." Well, that hasn't happened to me. Like, yeah, I get the unruly spirit now and then, and yeah, people come to us to move on. That's my job as one of her kids. But I haven't got a horde of undead in my house or something. It's not the apocalypse in here that
No.
I'm aware of.
Strangely enough, yeah, I mentioned that I'm going to see Return of the King tomorrow. One of the scenes is that he
It's like
leads
that,
an army
yeah.
of the dead, and it's not like that, I mean,
No,
she might have that in, like, if you had a spirit sense, I don't know, to see all that, but they're not going to turn up at your door and expect you to,
yeah.
put on the garlic bread or something. They're not going to, they're not going to want you to do that. It's just a case of, I think people are scared of it happening because they don't know what they'd do if it did. And they don't have the resources, or maybe the knowledge to know what to do if that was to happen. So in that case, maybe you're not quite prepared to handle it just in case it did. I have felt people behind me before. I felt the spirit of my mum's ex-boyfriend just not long after he'd passed. I was on the phone doing tarot reading for somebody, and he was in the kitchen door,
Mm.
just behind me. And I was like, oh, I'm on the phone. I can't talk to you right now. It's like, I know you're there, but I can't. But if that happened to somebody else, maybe they would completely freak out and not know what to
Oh
do.
yeah,
So, it's one of
happens
those
quite a
things.
lot. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you're right. It happens quite a lot. People do freak out. Like, get people coming to me going, "Oh my God, this has happened." And do you keep up with your spiritual hygiene? Do you keep cleansed? Do you keep doing? No, I've told you before. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for being here. It's just that I'm conscious of the time. It's a
No, no, I could talk for hours on this. So, yeah, it's best you shut me up now.
Oh, well, I'll have to get you back on and talk again about something.
I love that. Yeah, I've
Oh,
had a really good time.
oh, thank you. And so far, thanks for being here. So, yeah. Okay, well, I'll just do my usual thing. Thanks for listening, everyone. And yeah, until next time, stay safe, stay witchy. Bye.